So here we have Pilates 204, which is aimed at an intermediate level. You're going to need your ball for this program, although if you don't have one, don't worry too much, there are workarounds. And you might well need a cushion to go underneath your head or to sit on. So let's do that little setup first of all then. Make sure the heels are directly underneath your hip bones, lengthen the legs, the pelvis is in neutral of course, tucking your bottom under into imprint for those tougher moves perhaps. And the rib cage stays drawn down, shoulders are back, the back of the neck nice and long as you draw the chin towards the throat. We're going to settle those feet into the floor. We're going to think about the breathing now. Breathing in through the nose, allow the chest to expand. As you breathe out, let the chest deflate down again. All the time keeping the core muscles switched on, the neck nice and long, the back in neutral and your weight melting evenly. Let's close those eyes and just take a moment to connect mind and body. And the breathing and core all connected. Okay, big breath in to sweep up, bending the arms, sweeping the arms up, and breathe out to release down. We'll do one more of those just to wake the lungs up again. And breathe out. There we go. We're going to go into some squats now. Sitting your bottom right back, keep the knees parallel. Here's the side view. That back is nice and straight, and the knees stay level with each other, and they don't go in front of the toes. Keep the belly button zipped up, eyes looking forwards. Warming up through the hips and the knees and the ankles. Couple more then. Keep the shoulders down, remember, as those arms reach forwards. Adding on one squat, then we're going to do a side reach. So take the right arm over to the left, keep the hips in the center and stretch down the side of the body. Squat and reaching to the other side. Make sure the knees stay parallel with the squats and the back stays straight. Let's do the same on each side again. Breathing out to sit back. Breathe in, prepare, breathe out to reach. Keep the hips in the center. And one more time. Slight change here. We're going to squat. Then we're going to do a star balance. So sit down. Up onto the right hand side. Stretch those fingers and toes out. Eyes staring forward. Core muscles in and breathe. Be gentle when you do put that foot down. Feel a hip distance into the squat. Over to the other side. Keep breathing. Find a calmness and center your balance. Okay, I'd like you to take yourself to the back of your mat now. Heels under the hips as always. Core muscles switched on. We're going to do a couple of roll downs. So, breathe in at the top. As you exhale, drop the chin to the chest, collapse the arms and shoulders forward, slowly peel forwards, keeping the tummy scooped up. Remember, you can bend those knees a little if you need to. But hang yourself upside down, keeping the tummy scooped, and keep breathing. Remember to use the core muscles as you start to restack. Rebuild the spine one vertebrae at a time till you come up to standing. Breathe in at the top, exhale, same again. Collapse the arms and shoulders forwards. You might feel you can stretch over a little further this time, but do bend those knees a fraction if you need to. Remember to keep breathing, keep the arms loose, allow the blood to rush back into the head and the fingers. Tummy scooped. As you rebuild, imagine the tummy muscles pushing the spine up from inside the body. Slowly rebuilding, lumbar back, the rib cage, the shoulders melt, head up last. We're going to add some press ups on this time, so curl yourself forward with that roll down, same again. And then gently take your hands forward, bring yourselves onto hands and knees. This of course is the easier version of press ups. Your knees are under your hips. Everyone's hands will be wide, of course, the back stays straight, belly button tucked in, nose pitching forwards towards the floor, keeping the neck straight. That's your easier version of press up. Here's your harder version, which I'm sure you already know. Bringing your body weight forwards, you're on the area just above the knees. Same rules apply though, nice wide arms, nose pitching forwards in front of the hands, back straight, core muscles switched on. Let's walk back to the knees, lift the bottom up, heels go down, chin to chest. We'll slowly restack like we did earlier, still thinking about lengthening through the spine, loosening up through each and every vertebrae, till you get to the top. And then we'll go and do the same once more. So chin to chest, lengthen through the spine, hollow out through the tummy muscles. Smoothly bring yourself down into your level of press-ups. Hands should be wider than the mat, remember. 4 or 5 press-ups, nice and strong. Warming up through the upper body. Remember the core muscles switched on as well. Back nice and straight. And then when you're done, you can push your bottom back to your heels and take a short rest. So we're on the floor now. We're going to go into basic lift. Pop your head on a pillow if you wish. So those feet must be hip distance apart. Knees at a right angle, knees and toes pointing forwards. Your pelvis is in neutral, of course. Remember, you can sink back into imprint if that's preferable for you when we go to the 2-leg moves. Core muscles switched on, fingertips on top of the hip bones, and tuck your chin under to lengthen through the back of the neck. Breathe in, prepare here. As you breathe out, you're going to gently float one foot off the floor, hover the knee above the hip. Breathe in, melt the foot straight back down. Other foot, breathe out. Do the same with that one. Breathe in, go down. I'm sure you understand what happens with this move. The core muscles need to stay flattened and the back stays still whilst you move the legs. The feet always go back to the same spot every single time. And the pelvis stays still. We're trying to eliminate any tilting through the pelvis with this move, so keep the feet light. Tuck up underneath the belly button to keep the pelvis settled. Your 2-leg version, once you have settled the pelvis, you breathe out to float one leg. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out. You can sink into imprint if you wish to, like I've done here, and then breathe out to float the other leg. And keep repeating that process. One leg up, other leg up, one leg down, quickly followed by the other leg down. Breathing out to float, breathing in to melt down. But again, the back stays either in neutral or imprint, depending on which you've preferred. Tummy muscles stay firm. Shoulders nice and relaxed. Back of the neck nice and long. Here's your stronger version with a lengthened leg. This is the single leg version. So if you don't want to go to 2 legs, you don't have to. But you can make the move more challenging by taking the feet much further forwards on your mat. Still lifting the knees to above the hips. Feet will be higher in the air. Same rules apply. Back stays in neutral. If you go to the tougher version where you're doing 2 legs, of course, you can sink into imprint, but the rules are just the same. Shoulders are relaxed, back of the neck nice and long. And there we go. If you want to, if you feel confident with what you're doing, you can release the hands down by your sides, back of the hands to the floor, or indeed cross the arms over the chest. That will make it more difficult still. You decide on your level. Make sure you can keep your back secure and you can keep your core muscles switched on. Back of the neck nice and long and shoulders relaxed. Here's one final version of this move. It's called the reverse lift. We start with the bent legs, both in the air. You lower one leg, keeping the knee bent at a right angle, and just touch the heel to the floor and then pick it straight back up. You're breathing in to lower, breathing out to pick back up. So this one is slightly more difficult. You can do it with a lengthened leg, of course, because you're staying with the weight of both legs in the air. It is that little bit more difficult. So resting out from that one, hug the legs into the chest. We're going to go to a kneeling squat 100 now. So you know the 100 where we pump the arms. From a kneeling position, I need you to watch this. So we're going to do 5 sniffs and 5 arm pumps by your side. Like so. A little bit quicker than this when we get going then. And then when you breathe out, you're going to sit your bottom back, lock in through the core, keep your back straight, and press the arms back. Now be careful. Do not curl forwards, straight back. Very, very important. Core muscles in. Also, when you pump the arms, do not let the body bounce. Isolate the arms, stay stable throughout. Okay, So bottom clenched, core muscles switched on, fingers reaching, back of the neck nice and long. 3, 2, 1, sniff. 2, 3, 4, 5, blow. 2, 3, 4, 5, sniff. 2, 4, 5, blow. 2, 3, 4, 20, sniff. 2, 3, 4, 5, straight back. 4, 30, in. 2, 3, 4, 5, keep that body still. 40, in. 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 50, in. 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 4, 60, keep the arms strong. Out. 2, 3, 4, 70, in. 2, 3, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 80, in. 2, 4, 5, out. 2, 3, 4, 90, last set. 4, 5 and 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, and rest down and roll those shoulders. Yeah, I really like that version of 100. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to tabletop, original version. Sliding, floating, reaching out to the side. So make sure your back is nice and flat, tummy muscles are pulled up, shoulders away from the ears, right arm, left leg. Breathe in, prepare. Breathe out. Slide the limbs forward and back respectively. Let them float if you feel balanced. Melt them down and slide back to the start. Same with the other two sides. Making sure the four corners of your back stay still all the time. The shoulders should not be pulled up towards your ears, and you shouldn't lean over to the kneeling leg side. Try and think of this move as one move rather than two moves. Try and melt each side together. Is your add-on reaching arm and leg respectively out to the side without leaning, without the eyes following the arm, without buckling in the center. Keep it slow and smooth. Remember, you're breathing into the rib cage, keeping everything level and still apart from the arm and the leg. Take your time with this one. Stay locked into your core. There we go. Push your bottom back to your heels to take a rest out of that one. By all means, circle those hands around if your wrists need a little stretch. So we're going to go into a little roll-up sequence now. For some of you, you might want to use the ball just to support the lower back. As we sink back, you might feel that that is necessary for you. It's up to you. Alternatively, you're going to use your core muscles a little bit more. So knees bent slightly, arms relaxed. You're going to breathe out to sink and hollow out the tummy muscles. Do that roll back until you feel you're challenged, but your ribs have not touched the floor. Draw on the core muscles to bring you forward. Do keep those shoulders and arms open and loose. Breathe out to sink. Tucking your bottom under. See how far you can go. Whatever you do, don't collapse, using the core. Now we're going to sweep to each side. So sink back in the same way. To draw one arm back, sweep it and come forwards. Other side. Allow your eyes to watch the fingers. That will help you to sweep back a little further. Now we're going to do an abdominal crunch. Seated if you wish. Just hollow in. See how I'm drawing my belly button in there and rib cage in. And then we're back to the beginning. Tuck under, hollow out. Sink back. 2 sinks. So in total we do 2 sinks, 2 sweeps, then 2 crunches. There's those 2 sinks. Next we've got the 2 sweeps going to the side. Really open out, reach those fingers as far as you can. Coming forwards, and then the other side. And then for the crunches, you can either stay seated and do those seated abdominal curls where you draw in the bottom of the rib cage, or you can smoothly roll yourself into the floor, bring your legs with you, and do a couple of abdominal curls from the floor. Slightly more difficult. When you come up, just tip the balance slowly and smoothly, staying completely under control as you tip yourself back up to seated. Then we're back to the beginning. 2 sinks, 2 sweeps, 2 crunches. Really pivot on that pelvis as much as you can when you do these sinks and sweeps. Tucking your bottom under, leaning backwards, curling and hollowing out each and every time. I'm going to carry on doing the lion crunches. I've added on with a lengthened arm this time, which makes it more difficult. I did run out of space, the wall is there, but you can really lengthen your arms out as much as you want to. That will make the abdominal curl that little bit more challenging. Just remember to smoothly tilt the balance to come up to seated. And again, sinking back. Now, if you find your hip flexors are pulling on this one, it's mind over matter. You need to focus more on your core. Belly button, pushing to backbone, hollowing out. Try and train the brain to use the core more than those hip flexors. Into the crunches now. Smooth as silk, lengthening the arms, all fingers behind the ears. Remember, you can still do those seated abdominal crunches. What you need to do is pull in the bottom of the rib cage, really ignite those abdominal muscles with a couple of crunches. Sinking back, 2 of these. 2 sweeps. I think this is our last run through with this one. Finishing off with a couple of crunches. There we go. Hug the legs in. We're going to do the side kick next, so that will nicely stretch out through those hips. You can use your ball for this, but you don't have to. We're going to roll the ball between the feet. It does make it much more challenging than the original version. So your setup is to stretch yourself out nice and long. Make sure you are very straight. Bottom arm is nice and straight, but of course you can tuck the elbow and tuck the hand behind you. Eyes on the horizon. Tuck your bottom under and engage through the core. When you're ready, lengthen and allow the legs to naturally float 1 inch or 2 off the floor. Maintain that balance. Keep your top shoulder down. Check that bottom hand doesn't grip the floor. And if you feel settled, then just gently roll the ball back and forth between your feet. Don't worry too much if you wobble. Use your core muscles to steady yourself, or pause the ball roll if you wish. Just make sure that you don't arch backwards. When you do roll the ball, try and keep the legs straight. Avoid bending the knees. And yes, you might need to readjust that ball occasionally because it does have a mind of its own. Okay, melting down and hug the legs into the chest. We're going to go on our back for the bridge, so you can keep your ball and pop the ball between the knees. Heels much closer to your bottom for the bridge as always, but pinch that ball. Make sure your knees and toes are pointing forwards, heels in line with the hips, of course, hands by your sides. Breathe in, prepare. As you breathe out, squash your belly button down to squash you back into the floor. Peel the spine up off the floor gently. Nice straight line between shoulders and knees. And then breathe in and roll the spine back down into the floor. Remember, we are trying to manipulate the spine as much as we possibly can. So do create as big a pelvic tilt as you possibly can on the way up and on the way down. Create as much movement as you possibly can. Visualize the pelvis being lifted by those strong abdominal muscles, and the chain links of your spine are being lifted one at a time until you come up onto the shoulders. Adding on this time, let's see if you can straighten one leg. Check the pelvis though. If the pelvis dropped to the side, that's no good. You need to put that foot down and work a little bit harder on trying to keep that pelvis still. We lengthen one leg, lengthen the other, and then roll back down. This stops the hamstrings from overtaking the move. Tilt back, peel up onto your shoulders, lengthen one leg, maintain that steady pelvis, lengthen the other leg, and then float yourselves down. If you want to, you can add on with sweeping the arms back and forth with each leg. I haven't done so, but you're welcome to add that on if you wish. Okay, let's take a rest from there and move on to the other side kick. Once again, ball can go between your feet if you wish, don't have to. Completely up to you. Lengthen yourself out. Nice straight line. Eyes on the horizon. Rest your ear down on your bicep and shoulder area. Tuck your bottom under, keep the core muscles locked in, and when you're ready, exhale, lengthen the legs and allow them to float. Once you feel centered and balanced, then you can start to roll that ball gently back and forth between the feet, trying to keep the legs straight, of course. Check that bottom hand doesn't grip the floor. Bottom's tucked under, core muscles are engaged all the way through, steadying any of those little wobbles that might happen. All of the power should come from your core. Super. Melt down and hug in. You can put that ball to the side for now. We're going to go on our backs. We're going to do what's called the 2 arm and leg ab challenge. So it's a relatively quick move. You can have your head on a pillow if you wish. But lying down, I'm going to ask you to take your knees in towards your chest. So hug those knees in and feel your back fully flattened down into the floor. Think about pulling the belly button down and confirming that position, back pressed into the floor. We'll breathe in, prepare. As you breathe out, lengthen fingers and toes up for the ceiling, but maintain that flat back and flat tummy. Breathe in to bend in, breathe out to lengthen again. To add the challenge on, fingers and toes reach further away from each other each time you breathe out. So it takes a lot more challenge, a lot more strength to keep your tummy flat and to keep your back pressed into the floor. Whatever you do, do not allow your back to arch. Focus on the breath, hollowing out through the tummy as you stretch, keeping the shoulders away from the ears if the arms go behind you. Nice long stretch and challenge. Keep breathing. Super. Take a little rest and relax. So we're going to come back up to seated. We're going to do some work for a variety of areas through the body. The shoulder, the waist, and then we'll work a little bit on the hips. Make sure you've got plenty of room side to side. So legs are curled in to the left. Tuck underneath your right waist. And the ball is under the right hand. You're going to roll that ball away without collapsing through the middle. The arm can go overhead, but it doesn't have to. And then you draw into your waist and your core to pull you back. So take a look at this one. Make sure you don't collapse in your waist. Lift up, press through. Now, if you don't have a ball, you can still do this move. You adapt it by taking that hand to the floor and bending the elbow. But try not to use your arm too much. Use your core. The stronger ones, if you don't have a ball, then maybe you can just reach out to the side without resting your arm on anything. That is a lot more difficult, obviously, and you won't go half as low as where I'm going on the video. But it's an option for you if you don't have a ball. Here's another addition. You can lengthen the opposite leg. Just adds to that balance challenge. So this time the ball, if you wish, is going to be clenched underneath the knee. You don't have to use it. The ball does make things more difficult, so it's up to you. Take care if you have sensitive hips with this one. So hands to the floor, keep your chest proud and forwards, core muscles switched on. You can leave your foot on the floor and just lift through the knee. So we're just opening out through the hip joints, and notice how the rest of the body is static, locked solid. Shoulders away from the ears, neck is nice and long. So that's your easier level, just lifting the knee. Slightly more difficult, you can lift the whole leg, but again, body doesn't move. Take care. Lock into the core, draw the shoulders back, and just isolate that leg. It's quite challenging, so take care. If you're finding it too hard, take the ball away. The next level, making it more difficult, you lift, move the leg forwards and back, and then down to the floor. So up, forwards, back, down. Keep breathing throughout, taking the air into the chest, of course, core muscles locked in. Hopefully you can feel that work all the way around the hip. Even if you're still on just the knee lift, it's still quite a challenging move. Okay, give that leg a little rest and a stretch out. We're going to take the ball to the opposite side, pop it underneath the ribs, lean on your elbow. The leg we've just worked is going to have a rest. Keep that shoulder away from the ear. It's the bottom leg that's going to do all the work now. You're going to lift and lower the leg to isolate the inner thigh. And whilst you lift and lower, you'll point and flex and point and flex. Core muscles still working, of course, to support the body in this length position. But see how the shoulder is still away from the ear. I haven't collapsed into the ball and into the shoulder. We'll do quite a few of these to really work into that inner thigh. After a few, you should be feeling this. You don't have to lift the leg very high. And when you want to rest, you bend the knee in front, give that inner thigh a little rub. So let's do that whole little sequence on the other side. So legs are curled in. Make sure you've got space. Ball underneath the left hand. Core muscles are in. Recognize the shoulder placement. Breathe in, prepare. Breathe out to roll away. Breathe in, prepare. Breathe out, draw it back. Again, see how I don't collapse into my waist. As I lengthen out, I don't collapse. And the hand rolling on the ball does not touch the floor. Shoulders stay away from the ears on both sides. There is that add-on as well of lengthening the opposite leg. I haven't done it quite yet, but I will in a moment. That just makes it a little bit more challenging. There we go. A little bit more challenging for your balance, leaning your weight onto that wobbly ball, and just balancing yourself on that one hip. Keep breathing. Recognize how you draw the waist in to lift yourselves back up to seated. Okay, so using the ball if you wish. If you do want to, then just clench it between calf and thigh. You're going to turn away from the ball but stay upright. Chest is proud and forwards, shoulders are open. So your first level, like the other side, you keep the foot on the floor and you just lift the knee, pivoting through the hip joint. Next level up will be to lift the whole leg. Again, torso's got to stay still. Isolate through that leg. Always keeping the neck nice and long. And then that final version, if you want to take it up another notch, you lift, bring the leg forwards, take it back, melt it back down again. Once again, you're isolating the leg. Nothing else through the body should move at all. Stay strong with this one. And keep breathing. And there we go. Okay, cool. So stretch that leg out just to release. Ball goes underneath the rib cage. Lean on your elbow. Just check the shoulder stays away from the ear, of course. The leg you've just worked is going to bend and have a little rest. We're going to isolate and focus on that bottom leg, the inner thigh, lifting and lowering, pointing and flexing. Remember to keep breathing into the chest. Notice how the posture is very open, the core muscles are drawn in. The leg isn't lifting very high. If you're able to lift your leg very high as the other knee, that indicates to me that you're probably sitting back onto your bottom too much. So remember to stay on your hip, on your side. When you want to take a rest from this one, simply bend the knee and give that inner thigh a little rub. the ball to the side now. We're going to do a back extension move. I'm going to show you the hand position to start with. We're going to do a triangle. So the smaller the triangle, the harder the move's going to be. Lay yourself down on your front, please. I've got that triangle quite small but quite forwards to start with. Belly button switched on, legs relaxed. As you exhale, push down with the palms, shoulders away from the ears, and a back bend. So I'm not lifting too high because my hands are forwards. Now I'm going to bring my hands back just a fraction. I'll show you how much higher I'll lift because the hands have come back. You don't have to bend back quite so far if it doesn't suit you. Here's a much easier version. Nice wide arms, not quite straightening the arms. And it's still a back bend. So you decide on the level that suits you best. But the key here is to lengthen through the neck. Notice how the shoulders do not push up to my ears at all. Shoulders stay broad and the neck stays lengthened. Incidentally, the hips must stay down on the floor, and of course the feet stay long and relaxed. If you find this one aggravates your back at all, then feel free to only do one or two or miss it out completely. We are working the arms with this as well, so keep that lowering phase nice and slow. And then of course the obligatory cat stretch after the back extension. Always trying to lengthen through the lower back by tucking your bottom right under. Okay, we're going to go into the saw now. So you're sitting on your bottom. If you struggle to sit tall without a back support, please do sit on a cushion. The legs should be as wide as you're comfortable with. Arms out like a ballerina. We'll breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, twist and reach little finger to opposite little toe. Try and keep that leg straight. Breathe in to lift up, keep the shoulders down, twist to the other side, little finger to little toe again. Key here is really to keep those shoulders down. As you reach, there'll be a tendency for the shoulder to come close to the ear. You need to reevaluate that every single time. Make sure the shoulders draw down away from the ears. Try not to overreach as well when you go for the little toe. Don't worry if you're nowhere near the little toe. Just depends on your hamstring stretch and flexibility through your hips. You're just simply trying to stretch around the shoulder joint and down the back of the legs. Breathe out to reach, remember. Breathe in to return. There we go. Give those shoulders a wriggle. Bring those legs into a very comfortable position, again on a cushion if you wish. We're going to just do dumb waiter. So tuck those elbows right into the waist. Rotate them out, but don't let those elbows come away from the body. We're working the ball and socket joint of the shoulder, working through the rotator cuff muscles. I'm going to add on in a moment with server arms. So you'll take the arms out to the side and then lengthen out to shoulder height. Bring those elbows right back into your dumb waiter. Reaching out again, fingers leading, keep the shoulders down, core muscles switched on. Working into the upper back here, area between the shoulder blades. Really super for strengthening the upper back, fixing posture problems, things like rounded shoulders and hunched back. Super, give the shoulders a little wiggle. We're going to do a nice stretch now. I need you to grab your ball if you've got one. The ball helps. You can still do the same stretch without the ball. On your knees, you're going to take your hands to the ball, push your bottom back to your heels, drop the chest towards the floor. Because the hands will be slightly higher because of the ball, it does create a really super stretch around and underneath the shoulder blades. We're going to turn this into a wonky stretch. Take the ball and the arms right over to one side. You should feel an opening through the rib cage on the opposite side that you've gone to. Again, a really nice stretch to open out through the rib cage, create a little bit more flexibility. Let's take it to the other side as well. Keep breathing. Pushing your bottom back to your heels, opening out through that rib cage. Super. Pop the ball aside. One last stretch. I'm going to turn my back. For this one, you don't need to though. You can be sitting instead of kneeling. You're going to take your right hand behind your back. Take a hold with your left hand and pull. Gently tilt the head to the left. Nice long stretch down the side of the neck on the right hand side. Remember to keep breathing, especially breathe out to allow the muscles to lengthen. Gently release and we'll do the same to the other side. Remember to tilt the head. Remember to breathe. And release. So rolling the shoulders just to finish off, loosening any tension. And we'll gently turn the head from side to side. I do hope you've enjoyed that program. It's one of my favourites. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Stay healthy and enjoy life. Bye-bye.